United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. I have no announcements tonight. I would like to thank everyone who came out to the special town meeting last night. It was held at the new middle high school, gave us an opportunity to see what a beautiful building it is, and gave quite a few of our citizens an opportunity to participate in our town government. Is there any public comment from the board?
I just wanted to thank the Lunenburg Police Department for continuing to patrol Lake Shirley on Sundays. It really improves the safety of the waters, so thank you so much to the police department. And also, I would encourage everyone to head out to the farmers market on Sunday. The farmers are there from 10 to 1, and they have a lot of produce and a variety of crafts and music.
I'd just like to announce once again, this will be the last one because it's this Sunday. So the Boys and Girls Club are having the Are We There Yet 5K color run starting at 10 a.m. at the Boys and Girls Club of Lunenburg right here, 15 Memorial Drive. It starts at 10. Registration begins at 9 a.m. or you can sign up online. Will feature free t-shirts for anybody who pre-registers. Actually, I think that date is passed. There are prizes for the top winners. There will be timing provided by Racewire Light. There'll be a cookout afterward, so there'll be hot dogs and hamburgers at the end of the race. Should be fun for the whole family, so I encourage people to come out on this Sunday. And I did want to comment a little, just one comment.
Sure.
About last night's meeting. So you said that everybody had a chance to see the new building, which was indeed beautiful. So I agree it was a good chance to see and get to hear everybody. So I mean, there are a few little kinks AV-wise to find out, but it was good. But I will say that we were given a performance of, I don't even know how to say it. It was probably the biggest display of arrogance, boastfulness, confounding confusion, and disrespect in a presentation, all packed into 20 minutes of disarray and complete incoherence. So if you missed that and you weren't there, I would encourage people to watch the televised portion of it, because it was really quite something to see. Not helpful at all, I would say, but certainly a great piece of theater. Thank you.
That was only 20 minutes, huh? Seemed a lot longer.
I gave the initial presentation the benefit of the doubt that it was 20 minutes. It certainly may have been longer.
Is there any public comment from the public? Please.
Hi, I'm Sue Doherty. I'm the director at the Lunenburg Council on Aging, and I just have a couple of updates for you all. Back at our June meeting, the board voted to add another title to our Eagle House name, and we are now being called the Eagle House Senior Community Center, so we could open it up more to the community. As you know, we opened up to people age 50 plus last October. We've had a good-sized group coming in for yoga classes at night and things like that, exercise classes during the day. But we thought it would be a good thing to make it more of a welcoming environment for the people in the community. We've got a lot of new programs coming up. We are starting a veterans coffee, free veterans coffee, on the last Friday of every month from 9 to 10:30. And our supporters of the Eagle House will supply the coffee and the donuts, you know, for the veterans that come up. We have darts, we have bocce, we have horseshoes. We've just purchased a pool table that's not there yet, so we're trying to make it more appealing to a bigger demographic of people. It's not just bingo, it's everything else, too. Faith, our outreach coordinator, is going to be doing fuel assistance in October for first-time applicants by appointment only. and a representative from Fuel Assistance will come in and sit there and do applications with people who need it. And that's open to anybody in the community who needs it. But that's just for first-time applicants, not for people who are already on the program. And that's about it. And Pete Lincoln, our chairperson, would like to say something. But first, let me just leave some of these newsletters with you folks so you can see what's going on.
I have a question. Have you guys been contacted by MART about training?
What kind of training?
They're supposed to be offering training once a year for the drivers.
The drivers, they get trained on a regular basis through MART. One of our drivers is going this weekend for CPR, wheelchair, and first aid, I believe it is, but they all go on a regular basis. They let us know, and they go on a Saturday, so it's all
Great.
taken care of by them.
Mr. Lincoln?
Hemlock Drive. Council on Aging has prepared a letter addressed to Kerry. I'd like to read, please. Dear Kerry, the Lunenburg Council on Aging would like to thank you for your service to the town of Lunenburg and for your support for the Council on Aging. We believe you've been an outstanding town manager to our community, and your expertise will be missed. It's been a pleasure working with you, and the Council on Aging wishes you the best and luck in your future endeavors. Signed, the 11 members of the Council on Aging. And as a personal note, we will miss you. You've been part of the fabric of this town's government, and I hope we will hold a memory in your heart as you will hold in ours.
Anything? No. Any other public comment from the public? Okay. Our first agenda item this evening is the discussion of the general support of the Water District IMA and the IMA Works Letter of Support, which is in your package. I don't see anybody here from the Water District, but...
So this item was requested of you a couple of meetings back. You had a representative of the Water District here at that time, and you asked that they take a look at this letter and consider it. They did review the letter and voted to issue a letter at their last meeting. A copy of their letter is in the packet this evening. It's very similar to the draft that was presented to you. So the town of Lancaster is still looking for this board to agree to send a letter in support of their grant application as well.
I just have a comment on the third paragraph. I'm not entirely clear that this water infrastructure will protect our environment and public health. I could buy the public health, but I'm not sure about protecting our environment.
Yeah, I was wondering about that myself. I also wonder, in the first paragraph, we understand how crucial it is to bring public infrastructure to as many residents and businesses as possible. If that's really how we feel, perhaps we should be working harder to get more of it available to the citizens of Lunenburg who have been asking for it.
I don't think you need that sentence.
I don't think so either.
I think the first one.
I think I might leave out strongly on the first sentence.
Do you have a suggestion around the environment, Mr. Eversole?
I would just say, take out the words environment and.
I would take out that paragraph.
Take out the paragraph. Again, it's not needed.
And I don't like the wording in the last the second to last paragraph, because it assumes that this will occur. My understanding is they're entering negotiations into an IMA, and this board made it very clear that we wanted to see the conditions of an IMA. So I'm concerned that I would propose that it should be the potential area to be served by the proposed water service has been identified, because I just think that that paragraph is worded that it's a given.
Right. I agree. And you could leave out great, it could just be economic development potential.
So I think our proposed changes are, in the first paragraph is to remove the second sentence, delete the third paragraph, and add the words potential in front of the word area in the second to last paragraph, and then add the word proposed in front of new in that first sentence.
How about proposed instead of new?
Proposed,
Yeah,
yes,
yep,
I would agree, proposed instead of new. And then remove the word great in that same sentence.
What about strongly? Are we strongly endorsing it?
No, I would not, I would remove that too.
And so we can redraft this letter for the chair's signature. We can have that.
When you look at the second paragraph where it says, abuts Lunenburg and will tie into the Lunenburg Water District for a supply of water, so that also sort of
May.
assumes.
Change it to may.
So this expansion would solve?
The proposed expansion of the water infrastructure would solve, yeah. I just want to be clear that we're not committing unilaterally to
Right.
this, because I think all of us have made it very clear that we want to see the conditions of the IMA.
Well, not to muddy the water on the letter itself, but the note from Mr. McNamara, the superintendent, I wish he was here to answer this question, but it states that Mr. McNutt was surprised that none of the selectmen attended to ask questions. I'm not sure if he's talking about Lunenburg selectmen or Lancaster selectmen.
I think he's talking about us.
See, I wouldn't expect to be there negotiating an IMA. I think it's their role to negotiate, and then we wanted to take a look at what they negotiated.
You know, because we haven't been invited.
What is our role in
participate.
this? I guess that's the question. Is it an intermunicipal agreement between the water, it's an intermunicipal agreement between the water district and the town of Lancaster, correct?
Yes.
So we requested that we would be able to review that and give our
Right.
recommendation,
Which
I didn't-
which they can choose to accept.
or not accept,
It's not a
correct?
requirement. They're doing it
Exactly,
because they heard the message from the special
exactly,
meeting of the water district last fall.
exactly.
But I guess I take exception to being surprised that we weren't there to negotiate. Because, I would have been there, but I didn't feel that that was something we wanted to do.
I mean, we haven't been invited to
That wasn't.
participate in the negotiation.
No, they weren't negotiating.
Right.
They were, anyway.
Anyway, is there a motion on the letter?
Can we read it one more time?
Shall I? Would you
Save
like me
my
to?
voice, that would
Okay.
be good.
It's addressed to MassWorks Program Office. The Board of Selectmen in the town of Lunenburg would like to endorse the MassWorks grant application for the town of Lancaster. North Lancaster, the area to be served by the MassWorks proposal to install new water infrastructure abuts Lunenburg and may tie into the Lunenburg Water District for supply of the water. This expansion of the water infrastructure.
Proposed, I think, right? This proposed expansion?
Okay. this proposed,
By the way, this,
okay,
this is for an application. You don't have to use all those words are really kind of unnecessary because it's in support of an application to possibly do something. That is implied by the fact that it's an application. So I think wordsmithing this to death is,
I would like to wordsmith it.
okay.
just
I
to finish
agree.
what I started, and then we can
Yeah.
Sorry.
This proposed expansion of the water infrastructure into North Lancaster would solve a neighboring community's longstanding need to improve access to water and fire protection throughout the area. The potential area to be served by the proposed water service has been identified as an area of economic development potential. The presence of a public water system would greatly improve the viability and marketability of this area to businesses looking to site themselves along the Route 2 corridor. Please do not hesitate to call if you have any questions. Sincerely.
I would make a motion that we authorize the chair to sign the letter
Second.
as amended, as read.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Just continue the 4-1 vote.
You want this, or do you have it? Okay. All righty. Our next item on the agenda is the Lunenburg Municipal Aggregation Colonial Contract and Supply Contract with Con Edison Solutions.
This item is a request to renew the existing contract with our consultant, Colonial Power, for the municipal electric aggregation program, and also to review the upcoming rates that we receive for the next 12-month period. I would like to introduce Mark Capadona from Colonial Power. Mark has been before you a number of times. The agreement that is before you is it's identical, I believe, to the agreement that we currently have, but I would defer to Mark to answer any questions about the agreement or the services that they provide the town.
So the agreement for the supply is identical, other than the rate, Kerry? Our agreement is identical.
The contract with Colonial Power is a 3-year agreement for consulting services for our municipal electric aggregation program. Most of the work that they do is with us on a once every 6-month or once every 12-month basis to go out to help us procure supply rates. They also provide customer support service for any questions that we would receive about the program. Anytime we get called in the Selectmen's office, we almost always refer them to Colonial Power. And I know from follow-up contact that I have that Colonial Power does an excellent job in fielding questions and responding to citizen questions or concerns with the program. Do you want to talk about the fee associated with the program? And
Sure. A couple of other things. Any of the state agencies, so the Department of Public Utilities requires an annual report that Colonial also prepares. Anytime that there's any questions on the aggregation from the state, the DOER, the DPU, Colonial will always handle those as well. So from a state and municipal level, we handle all the details. It's just up to you to make some decisions on rates. On our fee, it's 1/10 of a penny, or 0.001, that gets added on to the supply rate. So for real easy math, if the rate was 8 cents per kilowatt hour, the rate with our fee is so it would be 8.1 cents per kilowatt hour. Does that make sense to everyone? So it's 1/10 of a penny. They call it a mil, 0.001.
Didn't understand that math.
Okay, so
8K.
if it was 8 cents, flat 8 cents, with our fee on top of that, it becomes 1/10 of a penny after, so it would be 0.081
Or 8.1 cents.
That's correct.
Okay.
Just so everyone understands it from a rate perspective,
Yep.
exactly the impact on homeowners' bills and small businesses.
And it's based on the kilowatt hours of all the town and the residents who
Anyone
participate.
that participating consumers, that's exactly correct, sir.
And if
Is the
we...
rate in here?
The rate is on the supply contract. It's on page 3.
Maybe I did not.
Oh, the new rate would be
Contract.
.09661.
All right, that's fine.
Okay,
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something.
no,
So they are two separate agreements. One is the consultant agreement, and then the second is an agreement for supply rates for the next 12-month period.
And
Starting with the
do we
November
have
meeting.
that?
No.
I thought I had copied it, but I guess you do not have it, so.
No, we don't have it.
Okay.
If we have a power purchase agreement where our rates our bill is reduced, does that reduce our kilowatt usage, or do we still pay on the kilowatt usage that we use?
for,
If we have net metering or power purchase agreements, which we have both in this town, how does that affect?
so,
That's not energy, you're doing supply, right?
That's correct.
So we don't get the supply is reduced. So-
and believe it or not, actually, the supply is not reduced. It's a financial transaction on the net metering side of things. So you'd still use the same amount of kWh. You'd just receive a credit, a financial, by Unitil, your distribution company.
But it has, no, we understand that, but as it affects your contract,
Has no effect.
Do we
You're on
pay that
competitive
kilowatt?
supply for the town buildings.
Are you're speaking of town buildings or any?
I'm talking about our power purchase agreements that we have. Is our town buildings subject to this?
They are not.
Because we do
They're
that as separate.
residential.
Okay, and our power purchase
Already out on
agreements
competitive
are going
supply
towards our
on a separate
bills.
contract.
Yes,
Sorry, so,
yes. But this agreement would affect any commercial that is part of the aggregation plan.
Correct. There are no
But
large.
not municipal buildings.
There are no G3 users or large industrial users in Unitil any longer that are not on competitive supply. So it's only small commercial and residential.
Okay. This is the piece.
So I just want to be clear, there's two separate items. One is the consultant's contract, and the other is the rate for the next 12-month period.
I would make a motion that we extend the colonial contract as presented.
second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Then do you want to review the rates for the next 12-month period?
Yes. So, and Carrie, I apologize, but I should have made more than one copy of this. I just wanted to show people where rates are because it's a very opaque. The energy markets are fairly opaque, but given this current contract, supply contract, rates are extremely favorable. So over the last 5 years, we're actually at historic lows again for energy. One of the problems that is coming is capacity. We're all subject to it. Unfortunately, the horse has already left the barn, and to the tune of about $3 billion, we're going to pay an extra capacity over the next 4 years. So unfortunately, rates are going to rise from a capacity standpoint, which is one component of energy. Currently, you pay about $3.13 a kilowatt month. That rate starting next June, this contract is actually involved with, will actually go up to $7.025 per month. So it's going to double. One of the things that this contract does is stabilize rates over the next 12 months to 9,661. Normally, over the last 3 winters, and you can see there, the huge spikes, Unitil's rates in the wintertime have been somewhere between 14 down as low as about 11, or 12, excuse me, last winter. So this takes some of the sting. It creates a low, stable price, which aggregation's goal is low, stable pricing.
Can you explain what you mean by capacity? The ability of the energy companies to add capacity to their systems? Is that what you're talking about?
So a little bit different, but in general, yes, it means so that we can meet all the needs of supply. ISO New England cares not about price, only that when someone flips on the lights, that the lights go on. And what capacity does is make payments to the generation companies, guaranteeing them income for that time frame. So believe it or not, you're in WCMA, which is the Western Central Mass Zone. You have it far better than the people in NEMA or Northeast Massachusetts, because their rates are tripling. So they've been decoupled, and they really need generation. So what ISO was saying, I'm willing to pay someone willing to put a power plant in the NEMA zone $15 a kilowatt month, which would be 5 times that for new generation. And that's one of the problems, is that auction already happened, and we can't avoid it. And those charges are coming our way. Just the average person doesn't realize it, because it's not something that gets brought up every day. But this contract should smooth those kind of, normally a spike would have happened, and you'll see it next spring next summer in the Unitil rates, because the capacity price is going to rise. But it's so that there's enough generation on the grid to meet demand into the future. Capacity.
So the rate presented through this latest billing, as Mark said, is 9.661 cents per kilowatt hour. We have a 12-month contract that runs through October 31st or November?
The November meter read.
November, okay.
Yep.
So that 12-month contract that we're in right now had 2 rates, one for the first 6 months, one for the second. So the first 6 months was 11.98 cents. The second 6 months was 8.9 cents. We did a blended rate, and I think we billed at a blended rate. Is that correct?
Yes.
So this new contract, if you consider the blended rate, is 7.46% lower than the contract that we're coming off of now. And we have the guarantee of the 12 months. We've gone through periods where we've guaranteed 6 months, 12 months. This seemed like a good rate to lock in for 12 months, being almost 7.5% less than what we're currently paying. Do we know what Unitil's basic rate is, or it's too early?
It's too early right now. They won't go out until October for their December rate change. But as you can see, as all the utilities go out for supply, generation is going to start to rise, or supply is going to start to rise. And given the 5-year chart, and I apologize, I should have brought 5, you can see that we've kind of hit a bottom. Not certain if it is the bottom. If I knew that, we could have this down in the Caribbean somewhere. I apologize, but as you can see, we're near a historic low. That's why I decided to say, if you think the 9.6 is something that we could do, the supply community is happy to do it.
And that's what's driving the 12-month as opposed to 6-month this time around?
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
So as with any contract that we enter into for the aggregation, if Unitil's basic rate comes in even lower than the 9.661, people can opt out. We just do it ahead of the curve, as Mark said, because we tend to get a better rate, and the contract or the supply company that we're working with is willing to give us a rate now for something that's not going to start for a few months.
When you say people would be able to opt out, how would they receive notification that the rate would potentially be higher?
So there's a couple of ways. So Colonial maintains a website that is required by the Department of Public Utilities for every community. Lunenburg has that. It has an apples to apples. Once we know what that rate will be, we'll also send a public notice to the town that they can put on their website, so that everyone can see an apples to apples comparison once that new rate comes out.
Okay.
And the good news is let's just say that does happen. Let's say Unitil's basic service rate is 9 cents. and people want to opt out of the rate. So they opt out of the program. In 6 months, for whatever reason, Unitil's with the capacity is at 10 cents. They can opt right back into the program. So just because they're making a choice doesn't mean that's the beauty of aggregation. It's bringing choice that they otherwise wouldn't have. They can move back and forth as long as, and I think you bring up, as long as they're educated and they know where to go to find the information to make the correct decision.
I think
Okay.
also that in the Unitil bill, every cycle that they change the rate, in December and I guess June or something.
That's correct.
It's in your bill, so you'll get what it is, what the new rate is. And you can see, if you're opted in, you can see what your rate is.
That's exactly
According to
correct.
the contract, that contract. And you'll be able to see what their published one is, so there'll be another way of knowing.
A lot of people, I think, don't understand their electric bill. So I think that if we
I agree.
if we receive a notification, I think, we have an opportunity to get the information out there, put it on the website, announce it here, even potentially put something in the paper. So I think we just want to make sure we stay on top of that. Honestly, I don't see it happening, but in the odd chance that it does.
Absolutely. I don't have any issue. I can deliver that to who's ever taking over for.
I would make, go ahead.
Yep, go ahead.
I would make a motion, we approve the supply contract with Con Edison Solutions as presented
Second.
for 1 year.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Do you want to take your contract?
If you want me to take a copy, I can.
Make its way down.
I don't think we signed it. Did you want us to sign it? I think
I sent one to you. Okay, I'll send it to
On
you.
something.
It has to
Electronic
make
is
its way
fine.
down.
And if Kelowna could just say, it's been a pleasure working with you, Carrie, over the last couple of years. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Not the other one.
So do we have an original to sign for those, or?
Didn't I send it down?
You sent down his original, their original, the
Okay,
consultant.
We'll take care of it after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, our next agenda item is the execution of a boundary agreement for 64 Chestnut Street.
So at last evening's special town meeting, you received authorization from town meeting to enter into a boundary agreement with the property owner at 64 Chestnut Street. The boundary agreement is in your packet this evening. It was prepared by town council, obviously reviewed by town council and reviewed by the property owner's council as well, and both have agreed as to the form. The agreement, as you know, recognizes the existing stone wall as the boundary. In exchange for the agreement, the property owner at 64 Chestnut Street has agreed to enter into a release of claim. As you may recall, there was a claim that was made against the town's insurance regarding the cutting of trees on the property in the 80-foot strip of property that's in question. And so the property owner will be releasing her claim against the town in exchange for the boundary agreement. I do have two originals of both documents. We're looking to have you sign both the boundary line agreement and the release of claim. The boundary line agreement, the signatures need to be notarized, and if you approve this and sign, I would be taking these downstairs to the town clerk so that she could notarize them, and we can give a copy to the property owner so that she could proceed with the closing on her property.
I would move that we execute the boundary agreement and release of claims agreement.
Second.
Just for discussion, the draft that we have, there are several areas that are not filled in. Is the original that we're going to be signing, is that data filled in?
You're on the boundary line agreement?
Correct.
So there's the,
Besides the date, obviously.
Right,
Yeah.
besides the date, the last
So
paragraph on the first page is my concern.
the consideration was intended to be $1.
That should be $1?
Yes. The survey company that prepared the original plan for us is modifying the plan to include additional legal requirements that need to be on the plan for recordation. That is being prepared right now. It is not yet prepared, so I don't know what it's going to be called. This agreement will be held in escrow, but because it is, once you sign it, it's binding on the town, it will allow the property owner to move forward with the sale of that property.
No, I have to be honest, I want to move forward with this and I want to sign it tonight, but signing something that that doesn't have the plan information on that is then binding concerns me.
The plan will be essentially in the same format as the plan that we currently have, the map that was shown at the meeting last night. There are some additional legal notations or survey notations that need to be added to it to make it legally conforming to the requirements.
No, I understand that, but my understanding was that we were going to sign this boundary line agreement tonight and hopefully give it to the property owner. I'm just not sure how we're going to do that.
You can do that with this, and then that information will be filled out before it's recorded.
Before it's recorded.
By who? Who is going to fill in that information?
The one or the other of the attorneys with showing the towns, either her attorney or our attorney, and the information will be exchanged.
I just am very concerned about putting something out that we're going to give this to someone and hopefully get the information back, and that information is correct.
Well, the town is preparing the survey. The town is the body that is preparing the survey. So we're not going to attach a survey to this document that is not in conformance with the plan that had already been approved.
So Whitman and Bingham is contracted with the town of Lunenburg to do this plan?
Yes, and we'll be returning the plan to the town of Lunenburg.
I understand your concerns. I think that we're okay with, since it is our surveyor.
Unless there's an error on the plan.
Unless there's an error on the plan.
Well, we would be reviewing the plan to make sure it is in keeping with the agreement that the town has made.
So is it our intent not to provide this boundary line agreement until we have the plan?
The boundary line agreement will be given to the property owner to return to her attorney to hold in escrow.
And that
Until
attorney,
such time as we have the plan.
right.
We have the plan, yes.
And
Who
that-
reviews the plan?
Well, the plan
Who does the
is-
plan goes to
is
first?
coming to the town. The town,
To you or to our attorney?
likely to our attorney,
Okay.
because the attorney communicated directly with the surveyor to indicate what needed to be added to the plan in order for it to be in a format to be recorded.
And then we're going to relay the information on the plan to the property owner's attorney, who is then going to put the information in, and then it will be recorded?
I think we can have town council complete the first page.
So the
And-
plan will have to be recorded at the registry of deeds as well.
Of course.
Right,
That's what this
right,
boundary
so-
Right,
so-
is.
that's what this
So
is.
so therefore, the important part is that it is the plan that we agreed to
Well,
last night.
exactly.
So,
Exactly, that it's critical that the plan that is recorded is the plan that we agree to. This is essentially agreeing to a plan, but we don't have the data as to what plan we're agreeing to.
But I think that's what we're paying the surveyor to do. We have what we want to agree with. We're making a binding agreement to convey the piece of property that we agreed to using the stone wall. And now we're just waiting for the surveyor to write that in surveyor talk to match what we've agreed to.
so
So
that's,
I feel comfortable.
so that's what we're doing, but legally, I believe we're okay, and this is often done to do things in escrow? But that's not how we should have done it with our town council. We should have had the plan with this agreement.
Exactly.
So I am willing to sign it tonight, because I am not going to put the property owner through yet another ordeal. However, I do agree, the heart of this is the plan. So the heart of the plan is what we're agreeing to, and the plan is the one thing we don't have. We have it informally in writings, but we don't have the formal piece. And I know it means nothing, because, we could say, well, we shouldn't do this, but the next time something like this comes up, we'll do it.
Well, both attorneys are legally bound to do what's the intent on here, so if some incorrect plan was submitted and
Well,
we would have malpractice suit.
with all due respect, I think the people that are reviewing it in town council aren't necessarily surveyors. They wouldn't necessarily, I don't anticipate, that's not the point. The point of, and I don't want to speak for Paul, but I believe that this is her case, I don't believe there's going to be a mistake. But in the case that there was, we'd be agreeing to something that's paramount to the agreement that we don't even have.
Exactly.
Here's Exhibit A, but by the way, don't pay attention to Exhibit A, because we don't have that yet.
See, I think that what we agreed to is the stone wall, and now it's just somebody writing down where the stone wall is.
I agree, but let me just put it back this way. When the land is the land. So as the deeds were recorded over time, nobody thought there was a disagreement or a dispute over the land either. So things happen is the point, and we just want to make sure that we're straightening things out and something else isn't introduced, and that we're agreeing to, everybody sees concretely what we're agreeing to. So in principle, I agree with Paula, but I am willing to sign it, because again, this has gone on long enough, and I just want this to be done.
And I would agree. I'm not withholding my signature, but I guess I am extremely frustrated that we don't have the plan. And certainly, Whitman and Bingham has been doing survey plans and plans like this for a very, very long time, and they know what information needs to be on the plan to be recorded. So why the plan was not in the format that it needed to be is frustrating. And secondly, if it's a matter of notations, why we couldn't have had that plan for this evening is also frustrating. I've seen situations in which plans are made or wrong things are recorded, and I don't want to be in that situation after having gone through this long process. And while I'm uncomfortable with it, I will still sign it, because as Mr. Alonso said, I don't want to prolong this, but I think moving forward, I would not sign something like this without that information, because it is the crux of the issue.
So just to make it clear, town council was requested to contact the surveyor to identify what additional needed to be added to the plan at the same time that the request for the boundary line agreement was submitted. So I don't want anybody to think that Whitman and Bingham held up the survey because they were not given the direction at the same time that town council was asked to draw up the boundary line agreement.
Okay, so it's verbiage that town council now wants included on the plan, is that?
You know what, I honestly couldn't speak to that, because I said, you know what needs to be on the plan. You speak directly to the surveyor rather than have it come through me and potentially have something miscommunicated. So I don't know specifically what needs to be included on the plan, because I never asked. But the direction to draw up the agreement and to contact the surveyor about the survey plan were given at the same time. I don't have the exact date, but this is more than a month ago, I would
And
assume.
do you have any, just for the record, do you have any idea from Copeland Page when they dispatched that to Whitman and Bingham? Do we know when they contacted them?
I'm not sure, no.
Well, this brings up another issue that I think is separate from this boundary line agreement, and it's the increasing lack of response from town council, which needs to be on an agenda item. And I would propose next week that we need to talk about our contract with town council. 2 weeks, that we need to talk about our contract with town council.
So we have a motion.
So we have a motion that's been seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Could you repeat the motion?
The motion was to approve and execute the boundary line agreement and the release of claims
Now,
agreement.
the one thing that is on the release of claims, it says it has to be fully executed before the boundary line agreement is released. Has it been fully executed?
No,
Once
that's what
you
we do.
sign it, it will be fully executed. The other party has signed the agreement.
Okay.
Is this document recorded, the release of claims?
It certainly could be recorded. I don't know that we
I
had,
don't think it needs to be.
yeah, I don't think that
Okay,
we
I'm just
intended to do
asking.
that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So the first document coming down is 2 copies of the release of claims. The second document coming down is the boundary line agreement. And with your permission, I would like to walk these down to the town clerk after they've been signed.
No problem. Okay, I'll recognize Ms. Morose. Would you like to come up, please?
I'm Elaine Rose, 64 Chestnut Street, 3 Riley Road. I'm just as frustrated as you about the lack of promptness that this recent episode has taken to resolve. And I do want to say that I'm sharing your risk that I had to sign this release of claims, giving up all of my claims, even the ones that I didn't give up back in June when we first started this, without this plan. It is my attorney is the seller. It is my attorney's position that it doesn't matter so much, apparently, if there's no plan at this moment when you sign it. But I do have a buyer that has a closing date scheduled for a week from Friday, before your next meeting. I would really ask you and the town manager to do everything you can to prevail upon the surveyor and town council, because if it comes up that my buyer's attorney does not agree with my attorney that this is adequate, I am going to lose my second sale because of a lack of proper paperwork done by the town, and I am real frustrated with that. So I don't know what it takes. I mean, I spoke to Carrie before this meeting. She says it's going to be soon. She says, when soon? You know, next week. I've been asking for the boundary agreement draft since June 23rd. So I would really seriously ask you to do everything in your power, given that I have given up every claim I have against Lunenburg for everything that's happened in the last 2 years. I need to sell my property. Thank you.
Just for the record, we don't have a meeting before that date, but we have committed and we continue to commit to make this happen. And the soonest it could have happened was the night after last night's special town meeting.
I understand, but the plan could be ready now, and it's not.
Understood. Okay, our next agenda item is to review the proposed scope of work for the residential pavement management program. And our Director of Public Works, Jack Rodequence, is with us. There's a lot of happy people in Hickory Hills.
Listen, you know, there are a lot of happy people, and they deserve to be happy, and I'm glad I had a part in that, and continue to have a part in that. You know, I've been before this board a lot, boards before them, and some I've really dreaded. This one I don't dread. This one, I'd like to turn...
Should we dread it?
No, I don't think you should. You know, a lot of bad news this week, a lot of bad behavior this week. I'm hoping that I can turn that around. I'm the proverbial optimist, and tend to be a cheerleader, but let's get started because I think I've got some good news here for you. I'd like to I keep my one with the notes to make sure there's no name calling on it. Rose, could you help me?
Sure.
The teachers say take that
I think we may.
Oh, yeah, we have these already.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Paperless society. I don't think you have the back page.
Oh, let's see.
Okay.
Let's see.
Always my 2 cents. It's always wise to begin by thanking the Board of Selectmen, but I think in this case it's justified. I'm not going to go into you've all heard and taken part in the pavement management plan. It's been going on for about 8 or 9 years. We revised it after 6 or 7 years. It's before you. This is not an evening to go back and look at that. What it is, it begins with a sincere thank you to the board, to Mrs. LaFleur, and of course to the residents, but perhaps backing up to the board for being the driving force along the way, for seeing the need for this, and for doing something that I respectfully asked you to do, which was not sell the program, but please pass along to the residents what their expectations should be if the program does not come to fulfillment. And I think you've done that. I know you've done that. I want to thank you for that. There wasn't a great turnout at the ballot, but nevertheless, we went through the democratic process. We were able to procure $4 million over a period of time, at a time when financially we have to look no further than the $30 to $70 million school that's down the street. I think that says a lot for the folks in Lunenburg insofar as failing infrastructure is not unique to this town, but the fact that the board, the town manager, and the residents did recognize that we had to do something. It's been long past time, and the time was now to do it. So we have begun to do it. What you have, I was hoping to get this, folks in the booth here behind me, if you could get on to page 1, it'd be great. What you have in front of you is a number of pages. What I've taken is the local roads, a plan of which you've already seen, and I've taken them pretty much in order. Now, the order is something to which I'd like to speak. The list in particular, what I don't want to happen here is that this list, as it gets onto the website and gets into construction, that it is exactly as the list is in front of you today. By that I mean there are not going to be roads that are going to be deleted. But because of geographical location or condition, there may be some roads that are grouped together in that year. For instance, Rolling Acres Road and Meadow Lane, they're virtually the same road with different names, but there's a different pavement condition, so they, on your sheets, may come into different years. What I will do along the way is either move the first road, depending upon funding, conditions, scheduling, into the second year, or move the second road, Meadow Lane, into the first year. Since all this is sort of a moving target, it did not make sense to me to make too many adjustments on the sheets, but just so that you understand in that situation that it would be done together. Another example would be White Street and all those short streets, Broad Meadow, Page Hill, Pearl Brook, that come off of White Street. Now, we've been waiting to pave White Street for many years. The holdup has been the Highfield Village project, and whether it was going to kick off and whether it was not kick off. And I said, sure as heck, we go to pave that, and the next day they're going to run down with that project. So it seems now that the project is, for lack of a better term, dead in the water. So we're going to put White Street, which has been near the top of the list for our Chapter 90 roads, out there and do that, and then marry in Broad Meadow, Page Hill, on the local roads, even though they may not be at the very top of that list for that year. It only makes sense from an efficiency standpoint and from a geographical standpoint. So before I jump onto that, I want that to be clear. It's very clear to me because I live with this program, but I want it to be clear not only to the board, but through the board to the residents. So is there anything that with that I've muddied up or that you'd like me to explain further?
Just one quick
No?
question.
Yeah.
If it says 2016, it may or may not be done in 2016?
Well, if it says 2016, all those roads are going to be done. We're in that season right now.
Okay.
Okay? All those roads you see in 2016 are going to be done in 2016. Now, I've taken the liberty of not using the fiscal year. It's confusing to me as I schedule things in the construction year and try to explain them in the fiscal year.
So it's calendar year.
The dates, yes, the dates on these sheets, when you see project year 2016, that's the actual calendar year, the construction season 2016.
Well, that's easier for people to understand.
I think so. Frankly, it's a lot easier for me to understand.
You should change the title, because it says proposed FY 2016 to 2019.
I will. I will. Thank you for picking up on that, Tom.
So will it be the same for 2017? Will the projects slated for 2017 be done sometime in 2017, but just not necessarily in the order shown? Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right.
Not necessarily, key phrase, not necessarily in the order shown. Okay?
But you expect them to all be done in that calendar year if
Okay,
they say
look,
2017?
let's look at project year 2017 as an example. You've got Broad Meadow on there, Maple Parkway, Page Hill, Pearlbrook, all that I just mentioned would marry into White Street, which is not a local road, obviously, it's a Chapter 90 road. Now, I would like to blast out in the spring and do White Street and do all of that. Say there's some scheduling snafu, say the Chapter 90 project request gets held up and that White Street can't get done until later in the summer or towards the beginning of the fall. Not likely, but what I'm telling you is we would then move and not miss the opportunity in the spring to do some of these other roads. And people might look at that and say, well, my goodness, Boucher Road's right at the top, and then all the others I suggested, but we're starting way down here in School Street.
Okay.
Scheduling is a moving target. The project requests into the state are a moving target. The local road projects, this project here can't stand alone from the Chapter 90 project. It all has to be intertwined, married together. And to the extent I can do geographically the project over here that are 90 roads, the Chapter 90 roads, and weave these local roads into them, something as simple as moving the paver across town is eliminated. There's a cost. If there's not a cost in value, there's a cost in time. And the time element here is pretty significant. I mean, we all live in New England. We all know how short the construction season can be. I've committed to the town manager, I've committed to the Board of Selectmen, I've committed to the residents that I'm going to do this work in one construction season. I've had that conversation with PJ Keatings. I'm putting my reputation and all my efforts on the line to do this in one construction season. But that said, understand that in this town, this has never been done before. This is twice, then some, the amount of paving that's ever been done in this town in the history of the town. So I feel pretty good about that. You should feel pretty good about that. The residents should feel pretty good about that. So it's important that I hold up my end of the bargain and make sure it's done. So that's a good question. So now again, is there an understanding that what's done in 2017 is going to be 2017, but not necessarily in order? And that goes straight through to 2019. Now, you get out 3 years, and I mean, we're pretty good at what we do here, but we do have a difficult time in foreseeing the future beyond a few years. So the upside is, if the weather's with us, so we have an early spring, we have a late fall, things are moving quickly, there aren't other big projects in the town taking up our time, or my time, frankly, and everyone's time, we might be able to move some of those roads from the next year into this year. You see about, you look at the mileages on the last sheet, but you see there are about 16, 17, 18 roads in each year. Now, this does not necessarily mean that they're all the same distance, but generally the local roads, on an average, we're going to do about 4 miles or 2 miles. It's on the third sheet, I'm not going to guess. We're going to do a certain amount of mileage every year.
Yeah, it looks like 4 or 5 miles.
Okay, 4 or 5 miles every year. You can only imagine for a person like myself, and not the greatest mathematician, when you look at these numbers and you deal with them day in and day out and think about them half the night, some of these numbers can be a little confusing.
Now, will all the crack sealing be done in 2016?
You just are good on that segue, aren't you? You're just leading me right down the, better than the people in the booth. I love them to death, but I don't know what happened to
That's
it.
on TV, Jack, don't worry about it.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, just
It is
because
on
it doesn't
TV.
show here? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Crack seal. You'll notice it's in project year 2016 on page 1. Begins on page 1 and goes to page 2. Now, typically, the pavement condition index of a crack seal is fairly high, because you want to perform that application at the right time when the pavement's not too far gone, and you get an additional years, you get additional years before you have to install another application. But there's the methodology in the industry is it's never too soon to do crack seal. So instead of leaving all these crack seal roads till the 4th year, and remember, this program is a snapshot that we took last year. So I'm concerned that after 4 years, of course we would keep an eye on it, that maybe some of those roads would skew the program and then be looking at a more involved application. So if I do them now,
You're extending
and they're on schedule, actually the numbers came in a little lower than our engineering estimate. We're on schedule to do those in September. So by the end of September, we will have paved, as you can see out here, Leominster Road, Lancaster Ave, part of Whiting, and done some Chapter 90 work to the tune of about $500,000. And then, if you want to go to the last sheet, it gives you a pretty close estimate on what we will complete each year, and in 2016 that'll be around $800,000. So we'll be just above probably the 1.2 million that we projected to do each year. Excuse me for just a minute. When I start talking in millions, I get dry mouth. Thank you. I apologize. And now that we're on the third sheet, or the last sheet, I should say, the numbers, there was some concern, and frankly, I was concerned. You know, we've made this huge effort. We've estimated totals. We've added a certain amount of contingency. The town manager also added in a sum of money for our drainage needs as we do the, prior to doing the paving on each road.
How much
and
was
then,
that? Was that about 500,000?
excuse me?
How much was that, the stormwater?
I think it was 400,000.
400,000?
Then
I don't think it was
6?
5, no.
And the one thing that isn't in here and that really couldn't be estimated that well and is the police details. So there's a contingency built into this $809,000. We also got a very good price from Keating's. We went from $62 a ton, or 62 and change, 63, to 58.
Oh, great.
Which over the course of thousands of tons really adds up. Something that's difficult in this database, frankly, it's a little bulky, and it's really our first time getting into the capital plan of it all. We can get numbers for berm and for numbers for driveway aprons, but it's nothing that fits into the big database. So what I do is I take a certain amount of tonnage and put it into the top. It's more of an in-house function. But what you see here at the 809 and jumping down to the bottom line, 3,257,000, et cetera, gets us in under the 4 million, which I think is, which was a great relief to me, going through these numbers in detail day after day, and I think the board should be pleased with that number, not because I got to that number, but because obviously there was some concern. Okay, we got the debt exclusion. There's all this work ahead of us. We've never been down this road, literally and figuratively, but we're going to do it. We're going to come in.
Cost of the asphalt from Keating is locked in for the 4 years.
Cost of the asphalt from Keating is locked in for 3 years, as is any municipal contract, as you well know. So the fourth year, there's just no way I can estimate that. So I estimated it based on what we have today. I built in my contingency, looked at the applications, moved the crack seal into this year so that we would lessen the load in the fourth year, and am optimistic that it's not going to blow through the roof, but it's an election year. What's going on in Venezuela, there are so many things out, which is the only provider of liquid asphalt. So I'm confident. How confident can I be in the world situation?
You look pretty confident.
I feel pretty confident. I feel pretty good about this. And like the chairman said, Jay, you're making a lot of people at Hickory Hills happy. Well, you know what? I feel good about that. It isn't my job to make people unhappy. I'm just a humble public servant. But when people are happy, damn right I'm happy, And if they weren't happy, they let me know that too, which is fine as well. So I hope lots of people are happy. I hope all those people, when we came out with this pavement management plan and we thought it was, we had asked for it for years. You had asked for it for years. The town manager accelerated the process, gave me the proper motivation, and when we had it, it worked well. It did just what it was supposed to do. The unfortunate thing was the revenue, as you know, didn't match the $9 million, $10 million backlog that we had. It was the foresight of this group to say, okay, look, plan's okay, but the children of the children of the children on half these roads are never going to see pavement, because pavement isn't a one-time done and run thing. It begins to deteriorate as you put it in place. We just have to keep going with it. I don't know if you all will be here or if I'll be here, but one thing that people have said to me, and I think it's worth repeating, is now that we're making that jump, now that we're going to get everything up to what we call a 70%, and there's some variables to that. We all went to school and we all know what ABC was, so we're looking at 70, which is a mid to low range C. We have to keep the momentum going. It may be other people that do this, but we can't wait another 20, 30 years to do it again, or we're going to be in the same boat. And I hear that from people on a daily basis. They're willing to pay the money. Many people really don't understand what's going on. It's not in their wheelhouse to listen to meetings or go on the website. So the best thing that I've been able to do is if people call, I invite them in, or I go to their home and I explain to them exactly what's going on. They're the better for it. They understand, and they understand the benefits of it. And to a person, they say, well, let's not get in this hole again. And I couldn't agree more. So it's not a one-shot deal. Lastly, and I'll be happy to take questions or anything that you feel I haven't covered adequately, is that I want to be clear, and I want your help on this again, speaking to people as they call you and people that you see, to set, as we always do, set the expectation. Some of these roads are going to be crack sealed. My sense is there are some well-intentioned folks out there that feel every road is going to be paved in the next 4 years, every single road. It's not going to happen. Some will be paved, some will be crack sealed. At the end of the 4 years, we'll look at other methods once we get them up to snuff in terms of a simple overlay. We may be looking at some chip seal. We'll expand the crack seal program so that once we've got them in that 70% range and all those easels and everything I showed you in terms of, well, $1 here is $5 down there, you remember that? The fact is, once they're all up at a certain level, and we're not looking at a mill and an overlay or a level and an overlay, we may be looking at a crack seal instead of a mill and overlay, which is significantly less. We may just be looking at a simple overlay, which is significantly less. And so we will need less money, hopefully, each year down the road to maintain, as opposed to pulling ourselves up to a level that we can even exercise that option.
I have a question.
Sure.
And maybe it's for the town manager. Jack, you talked about, taking things into consideration like adjacencies, weather, et cetera, and there may be opportunities to pull some stuff in from one year to another, or it may be wise to do something at the cusp of a year, et cetera. And that sounds terrific, and I certainly trust you to make those decisions. Is there enough flexibility in the financial side of things that if it's practical to move something across either a calendar or a fiscal border, is that doable, or does it also require some calisthenics with the budget to make sure it fits the practical road?
That's certainly doable, but it will be important for Jack to be in touch with the treasurer to make sure that the borrowing keeps pace with the projects that are projected. That's yet another reason why it's important for the administration to know what the anticipated projects are and the total cost of the anticipated projects, so that we can have the funds to pay the bills when the bills come in, because we don't have, as you can imagine, we don't have $4 million that is sitting,
right,
waiting to be used. So now that we are essentially past the borrowing for the school project, we're in a better position to be more flexible. One of the initial concerns that we had is that whenever possible, we like to keep ourselves identified as a small issuer, meaning we issue less than $10 million in any given period. If we go above that, then we risk additional interest rate costs. So as we were going through the borrowing for the school project, that was more a concern than it is, for this next 4-year period.
The other thing that I noticed on the recent legislation on the municipal modernization, I believe they provided that you can do bond anticipation notes for almost up to 10 years now. So that's another flexibility based on what we had planned on some of this.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, perfect.
You mentioned the drainage, and I just was wondering if you could expand on that a little bit. How are you going to determine obviously you don't have the funds to upgrade all of the drainage on these roads. There's just not the funding availability. So when you talk about drainage, what kind of things do you see improving? How are you going to determine what needs to be improved versus what doesn't? What type of drainage improvements can we expect?
So before you answer, can I just remind everybody what we said in the presentation, and then you can tell me if that still holds, because I noted when I pulled up the presentation, we included $510,000 for stormwater, so Phyllis was right to push that number up. But we came to that assumption based on the thought that 600 of the town's 1,100 catch basins, 600 of 1,100 are included in the proposed scope of work, and on average, we would need to spend $850 for maintenance. The construction of swales and their seeding can be completed within the already calculated cost. So that's what when we put this together, we were assuming $850 per catch basin times 600 catch basins.
And did you determine, I mean, how did you arrive at the 600? Were there certain that were identified, or?
No, we looked at we backed into it with an amount of money. I'm sure you understand, there is no average. I know it takes $100 to $200 just to bring them structurally sound to the new pavement elevation. I know what a whole catch basin costs to install. So each road, and we didn't just start observing the drainage because the stormwater permit was on our shoulder or because we had a debt exclusion. It's been our practice to look the year prior at the drainage of the roads that we plan to pave the next year. And the way we do that, in one point, it's a function of the catch basin cleaning, where the person, as he's doing his work there, has a sheet that notes roughly what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. If the pipe he doesn't get in the catch basin, but if there's a concern of the structural integrity, that's our best intelligence, if you will, in the catch basins. If there's a concern, we'll go out and either actually look down the line, or this year, I don't even know if you have this information, we procured a grant. We were successful in procuring a $10,000 grant for a camera, which is of adequate length, 150 feet, which can get into any drain line.
Great.
So that's a tool that we used this year, because this year is sort of a rush. I mean, we want to start the program, we want to check on the drainage at the same time. I mean, this all came right behind each other in this particular year. At the conclusion of this paving, we'll be looking at the drainage in the roads for next year. We're sort of on top of it this year. Pleasantly surprised to see that most of the drainage pipes are in good shape, because they're made of aluminum. The ones that aren't in good shape are the steel pipes. And although you weren't on the site, we did replace one on Wildwood Road, and then we replaced a huge culvert on Island Road, although the culvert on Island Road was part of the capital plan. So I'm trying to get around to a specific answer for your question. It's nothing more or less than actual physical inspection. There's no other way to find out what the structure is like. We take the information on the catch basin cleaning that's done, throughout the year. We go to those structures that seem to be questionable. We put a value on them. We'll send the camera down the pipe now and see if it's just a jetting, if we would have to replace a culvert, and then we'll schedule that work prior to the paving, as far out from the paving as we can. I'm outsourcing most of that work now, because the staff is busy. Remember, there's another whole department that's out there besides the paving, and people have to be served with by us doing other things besides the debt exclusion paving, and we can't let that go. So some of this drainage, which frankly people are more tooled up to do and have more experience in, I think I've decided that's a good place to outsource.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So just to follow up, my understanding of what you just said, and thank you for the explanation, is basically you're reviewing the data collected by the catch basin cleaning annually, on a regular basis. When you're looking at paving projects, you're reviewing that data and determining what needs to be done and what needs to be incorporated into a paving project to address the drainage on those roads.
Yes.
Okay.
And other roads. I mean, we're obviously going to clean catch basins. I want people to know that we're not going to leave other roads in the lurch. That just because, yes, these are 50, 60, 80 roads, that there's lots of other work to be done. We're still going to clean all the catch basins. We're still going to sweep all the streets.
Right.
And we're going to be vigilant in terms of looking and seeing what needs to be done. That's a big part of what we do, just keeping our eyes open and our ear to the ground and noticing things and not just passing them over, bringing them to someone's attention who can go and deal with that.
Okay, and those are two independent tools right now. You don't have, there's no mechanism in the pavement management plan to identify any of the drainage work associated on a roadway. It's an independent process, correct?
Well, I mean, I guess so, insofar as you want the semantics are drainage versus pavement.
Okay.
But is there more to that than am I missing something there?
No,
or?
I'm just wondering, I know the Stormwater Task Force has talked about a tool, and I know Montezut Regional Planning Commission is looking at a tool to look at, capturing that data when they go out and do the sweeping or the cleaning, or they do the visual inspections and capturing that data. It would make sense, and this is down the road, and maybe because I'm a programmer, it makes sense for those two systems to talk to each other. So if you've identified, 3 culverts and you have a rating system similar to a roadway, that you've identified these are catch basins that need to be upgraded. And that's flagged so that when you look at a paving project on that roadway, you know that ahead of time.
Oh, sure. Any information that we can gather.
So it would make sense to, when you're looking at these systems, it would make sense to try to couple them to be able to talk to each other.
No question. Anyone else?
On the roads that you're doing crack sealing,
Yes.
are you not as interested in the catch basins because it isn't as connected? Or do you look?
No, we're interested in all the catch basins. The crack sealing is an entirely different process than the street sweeping and the catch basin cleaning. These are things that go on regardless of the road conditions.
No, but I was thinking that when you do level and overlay, you definitely have to interact with the catch basins, right? And when you crack seal, you don't necessarily have to.
Well, you don't necessarily have to, but we don't look at something and say, well, just because we're not paving this road and this drain is in failure, we're going to overlook that drain.
Okay, so you pay the same attention whether you're crack sealing.
Yeah, we may, or I do, set a priority. I mean, if we're going to pave Road A in the fall and identify a defect in the drainage, identify a defect in the drainage over here for a road we're not going to pave for a couple of years, then certainly in a prioritized list of tasks, this road over here.
Okay, right.
Although that information is valuable, we'd like to do it all.
Right.
It's a prioritization of tasks.
So you'll focus on the roads that you're leveling and overlaying.
Yeah, you don't want to excavate in a road and pave right behind yourself. It's expensive because you have to use controlled density fill, so there'll be no settlement.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Jack.
Oh, thank you. No, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
We do have an appointment that involves the DPW to ratify DPW worker Christopher M. Clark.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, this represents the final slot. Finally, we're at full staff, which is sort of a oxymoron, I guess. I don't know what full staff is. Full staff in terms of the positions for which we have been budgeted. It takes me longer than I would like to get people there. There are a lot of variables. The economy is one large variable insofar as you get somebody with experience, a good person, somebody who has licenses or can operate equipment or can get a license. They can very easily go down the street and make half again as much as what they'll make at the DPW. Typically, these are younger gentlemen too, and they want the money in hand. So it does take a little bit longer to fill these positions because I want the right person. You can teach someone how to drive a truck, but you can't teach someone how to be a great person and a team player. So I feel that Chris Clark is that person for now, for today, and I respectfully ask that the board ratify his appointment.
Any questions or comments?
I would move that we accept, this is a town manager appointment, right?
We're ratifying,
So
right?
ratify the appointment of Christopher M. Clark as DPW heavy equipment operator as detailed to us by the town manager and the DPW director.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank the DPW director for the previous presentation and for doing this. It was a long, long process. But thank you for sticking with it, for working with us and helping us work with the town, keeping everybody informed along the way. And I know that, the people who the chair said are happy now and that you indicated you hope everybody is. I think there will be increasing as the project, proceeds from year to year as people see the results. So thank you for.
Thanks, Tom. I think you can have passion without losing your mind. And I would just say that the day I wake up and I don't have the passion for that, probably get my resignation. But right now I'm great guns, and thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Any bit of support is welcome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Would you just indulge one more comment?
Sure.
I don't think that Kerry's going to be available the next time I come before this board. So on behalf of the staff at the DPW, I'd like to thank her. She's been a great supporter. I mean, when you think of the way she's managed the budget to get us, even incrementally larger pieces of the pie for paving. And maybe the prize for me is his support that she gave for the new building, something that, believe me, we appreciate every day. So she's going to be sadly missed from a personal perspective. She's become a great friend. I'm going to miss her terribly. I hope that the next person we get in that office will at least do one thing that she did, and that's listen. I wish she would always pay attention to what I had to say. Didn't always agree with what I had to say, which was fine, but I knew that when I went into the office, I was going to have my opportunity, and when I left the office, I was going to do what I was told, and with her support. So, thanks a lot. I know you're going to blossom in Concord. They're very lucky to have you. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, we're going to hold number 5 till the next meeting. I guess we're not ready for that.
The reason I'm requesting that you hold the year-end transfers is at one of your recent meetings, you authorized agreed to authorize an additional amount for the sick leave buyback program for members of the AFSCME Clerical Union. We had to give them time to make a decision about whether or not they wanted the town to consider purchasing an additional amount. The deadline for that was today. So we did get all that information in, but we're going to have to revise the transfers that we originally proposed to account for the additional amounts that some of the members are looking for the town to buy back. So we're hoping to have that finalized for the Finance Committee this Thursday, and then for you next week. So it's not that the year is closed, but for this last issue that we're trying to resolve.
Okay. Next, we'll take up the cost of largest sized pay-as-you-throw bags. There's a memorandum in your package.
So you have asked on a number of occasions for me to take a look at either offering a better quality bag or a larger bag to meet some of the requests made by residents that participate in the pay-as-you-throw program. Currently, we offer two size bags, a 15-gallon bag or a 33-gallon bag. And the thickness of the bag is 1.35 mils. I've learned that the standard thickness for these bags is 1.5. I have no idea why we've been purchasing 1.35. That's been the same before I started here. I don't know if there was any discussion about why, but that's what we've been just repurchasing the same type of bag. So that may be one of the reasons why we have received some complaints about the durability of the bag. I can't tell you I've received many or even any that I recall, but the last time we talked about this, there was somebody in the audience who was nodding in support of she would rather have a better quality bag. So I think that's something that we can do fairly easily. We also have the opportunity to offer a larger bag, a 40 or 42-gallon bag. But there are some issues that I just want to make you aware of if you're going to make a decision to do that. So I did put together just a little cost analysis on the current prices that the town is paying for the bags and what we're selling them for. And keep in mind that there's two costs. There's the actual cost of the bag, but then when we price the bags for sale, we have to include a fee for disposal of what's in the bags. So the 15-gallon bags currently, we're paying 14.7 cents, and we charge $1.25. The 33-gallon bags, we're paying 24.8 cents, and we charge $2.55. We've been charging these same rates since July 1st, 2008. With the new contract with Casella that came into play in 2010, the overall cost for the program came down quite a bit, so we were able to keep the bag price at that rate, which is pretty remarkable that we've kept it there. And I think we probably should look at maybe adjusting it slightly, either January 1st or the 1st of the next fiscal year. If we wanted to increase to the standard thickness, which is, again, 1.5 mils, the cost for the 15-gallon bag would increase to 15.24 cents, and for the 33-gallon, 26.07 cents. If you wanted to go with those thicker bags, I would propose a slight increase from $1.25 to $1.30 with the 15-gallon bag, and from $2.55 to $2.70. On the next page, you'll see that we have a pretty standard ratio going. I'm not sure if it was dumb luck or it was well thought out. I'd like to think it was well thought out, but with the 15-gallon bag, the cost of the bag versus disposal, it's about 12%. The price that we sell the bag for is about 12% to cover the cost of the bag, and then 88% to cover the disposal. If you go to the 33-gallon, we're at about 10% for the bag and about 90%. And that makes sense because you're going to put more in, so the disposal cost is going to be higher. If you wanted to look at a 40-gallon bag, I would propose that we use the same ratio. I know it's not the same difference between the same jump up in size, but maybe go with an 8% cost versus a 92% disposal. I think you can play around with that. If we were to purchase 40-gallon bags, our vendor is saying that the recommendation be 1.75 mils, and the cost would be 31.63 cents. If we use that 8% to 92% ratio, that would make the cost of the bag to the residents $3.95. Now, I'm sure nobody pays much attention to the thickness of a bag, but just I know myself, I've purchased the heavy-duty contractor bags, the Husky brand. I looked on Amazon. Those are 3 mils. So just to give you an idea of the difference, if you're familiar with those bags, I think you could probably stand in them and jump up and down and nothing's going to happen to them. Those are really heavy duty. I don't think that we need that or would want to offer that because we have 2 things to consider. Our contract limits us, whatever the size of the bag, to a maximum weight of 50 pounds. If it goes over 50 pounds, the contractor will tag it and not pick it up. So we don't want to encourage people, we don't want to have people pay for a bag that they essentially can't use because they can't fill it to its capacity.
You know, in the brochure that we have, it says it can't be more than 30 pounds. So are you sure about the 50 pounds?
Well, you know, I asked the contractor today. I guess I'll have to double check with that.
Because 50 pounds is a lot.
50.
I was going to say 50.
I think 50 pounds
I
is
thought so
more.
too, and he did not. I said it's 50 pounds.
I use
right?
large construction bags
Okay.
all the time, for stuff in my basement in my shop.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever loaded anything past 30
Okay,
pounds.
so maybe we have to
Yes.
adjust
You
that.
have to grab it and you have to take it out and move it yourself, so.
That's a bag of cement.
Right, exactly.
right,
Well,
right.
A bag of cement is like.
I bet it's not
more than
50
that, but-
pounds.
Okay,
But it's heavy.
yeah. Well, that's good. I wish he had pointed that out when I asked him that. Or I wish I took a quick look at that flyer. The other thing is, there are a number of things that are prohibited from the municipal waste stream. Those are listed on page 2. I mean, most of them are pretty self-explanatory if they're household hazardous waste. But I think one of the issues I think that Mr. Alonso brought up was just if you have your own project going at your house and you would like to be able to dispose of items and you need a larger bag, you would like to have that option. But we're still not able to take construction or building materials, including asphalt, brick, concrete, cement, gravel, metal. It does say some small quantities of wood and construction debris as the trash bags allow, but there isn't any specificity in the contract greater than this, so I wouldn't want to encourage people to think
Right.
that they could be, we're giving them a heavy-duty bag so that they can be putting heavy-duty items in there. So I think overall, we certainly can do it. Maybe the bag price is a little high. I think I just used the same ratio. I think we do have some ability to work with that. But if you're looking to make any changes, I would ask that you don't do it any sooner than the 1st of January 2017, because we pretty much purchase our supply twice a year. So at this point, we purchased either I think we went a little early at the end of June to avoid a price increase. So we have a pretty decent supply on hand, and we would want to be able to use those up before we move forward with any change.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Alonso.
So, as one of the people who proposed this addition, the first thing is I'll just address the town manager's comment on the price. Since it's voluntary, as a homeowner who uses these type of bags and finds it difficult because once I put something in those bags to try to transfer them to the existing bags, or I have to dispose of them another way, $4 a bag is not, including the bag and the disposal, makes all the sense in the world. So, this is not mandated that people have to use this size. They get to choose what they want. To me, it would make sense in certain areas of my house, like I said, doing things in the basement where you have larger quantities of, it's not larger pieces of stuff, just larger quantities, and some of them are a little bit bulky. They're not heavy necessarily, but they're bulky. So the price is fine. I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, I do pay, not many people pay attention to the mill. Well, I do pay attention to that, but not because I like to overload it. It's just that nobody likes to. Everybody eventually kneels on a bag to just close it sometimes, and you don't want the bag exploding or tearing because that's just a waste of $4.
That's why God made duct tape.
You sure good.
I'll have to come by and see your garbage one day. But anyway, so I don't know what 1.75 would be like. I don't know if there exists maybe a 2 or what other mills they have. It would certainly be interesting to see the price of that. But I'm glad you put this together. I certainly have no problem in saying that the lower bags, I don't mind the durability of them, I don't have a problem, but the price difference, I don't have a problem with that either if we go to the higher mill, and I certainly have no problem with waiting till January to do it. I think this has been something that, maybe not everybody would want, but I'm sure there's numerous people out there, numerous households that would take advantage of these, and it would be good to have them, so I'd be for adding them. I just want to know if there's some kind of mill difference.
So your concern, is it more with the 40-gallon bags, the
Oh, yeah, just
durability
the
of
40
the
gallons.
40?
Yeah, just the
Okay.
40 gallon.
To see if we can get something a little bit higher. Okay, we can see what we can do and provide an update.
The only issue is people putting things in they're not supposed to if you get really heavy-duty bags.
I think you run that risk now.
Right.
Just,
Because you can put a bag inside a bag.
right,
Well, the bigger the bag, though.
right.
The only thing I'd say is that this is not as it's an important issue, but it'll be interesting to see where this issue ought to go in a reorganized town government. Just thinking about the amount of time we're spending on this versus other issues. But I'm glad we have the information.
The 7 minutes that we spent on it? Wow.
Okay. Not spend any more time talking about how much time we spent on it. We have minutes
We do have minutes.
from August 2nd. Warrants.
Accounts payable.
Accounts payable in the amount of $374,882.69.
One of the other items that the modernization bill said that we as a committee could designate one person to sign these if we wanted to.
I have which one is this?
Payroll.
Payroll in the amount of $265,404.39.
Payroll deductions.
Payroll deductions for $76,433.57.
The other item I have for your signature is the collective bargaining agreement between the town and the DPW Laborers International. You signed the memorandum of agreement a couple of meetings back. We announced the terms of the agreement. This is the collective bargaining agreement as updated by the memorandum of agreement, and this was, first-year funding was approved by town meeting last evening, so if you could sign each copy as well, I would appreciate it.
One on each.
Yeah.
Any action file issues? Committee reports. Mrs. Luck.
Let's see. The ZBA will be conducting a public hearing on September 14th to hear the petition of John Rabbit for property at 314 Townsend Harbor Road. He's seeking a special permit for dimensional variation to create an accessory apartment within the existing footprint of the dwelling on a non-conforming lot. The MART board is meeting on 8:30. The school committee meets tomorrow in A130 project room, I think where we met last night. And the stormwater task force meets on August 29th. That's it for me.
Ms. Bertram.
The Conservation Commission met on last Wednesday. Unfortunately, I did not bring my notes, so I'm just going to hit a couple of the highlights. The item of concern for this board is the 225 Pleasant Street extension, which was granted, as was the extension for 101 Pleasant Street and 190 Electric Avenue. So the deadline for that is September 21st, and that is to propose a plan. I did give them the update on the status of the RFP that Adam had prepared, which outlined the tasks. It would be good if we, for our first meeting in September, if we had an update from Mr. Burney on where we are with the plan for 225 Pleasant Street, because obviously we don't want to miss that deadline. My understanding of the status is that Mr. Bernie is in consultation with the engineer, who is in the process of putting together a plan and looking at a scope of work, which will be sent out to some contractors to get pricing. So it would be helpful if we heard from the planning director, the land use coordinator, actually. There was also a continuation on the enforcement order for 189 Howard Street, which I believe this board has received some emails relative to the ongoing issue there, and they were going to do a site visit and meet with all of the parties involved to bring that to resolution. It was the Conservation Commission's position that the owner of 189 Howard Street was working towards a resolution on that property. And that's really the items of concern for this board.
Mr. Bronson.
Cable Advisory meets Monday, where we will discuss the business plan of PAC. We will discuss the survey that was done earlier this year, and we will set up an agenda going forward into our last year for the renewal of the cable contract. Finance Committee met last week as a public hearing, or not last week, 2 weeks ago. I was not able to attend that, but it was a public hearing for the special town meeting. We heard their opinions and their recommendations last night. Their next meeting is this Thursday at 7 p.m. In the School Building Committee, I was unable to attend that, their last meeting 2 weeks ago. Their next one is in the second Wednesday in September.
The Sewer Commission was meeting tonight to determine betterments for the most recent betterment project with their engineer. So those should be finalized fairly soon.
And the Building Reuse Committee did meet last week and heard 2 proposals and 1 alternate proposal that was not directly in response to our request for information. We meet again next Monday night on the 29th to further discuss those and try to determine some next steps. In the 2 groups that are the R subgroup that's interviewing interim town manager candidates have met and are interviewing some people this week, and the task force that's led by the town moderator is reviewing resumes that have come in, but the final deadline for that is September 9th. So the interviews will be set up after the September 9th timeframe. Okay. This is our last meeting for this month. Our next meeting will be September 6th. It is therefore the last meeting for our town manager to be with us on the podium here. Again, as I said last night, I'd like to thank Carrie for her service to the town, but particularly for her service to this board and her contribution to this team since I've been a member of it, although her contribution to the board has extended way beyond that. And I wish her well in her new endeavors.
You're here.
Are you going to cut out my last town manager report section?
I was, but I guess I'll let us finish what we're doing, and then you could do that. Tom, did you?
I was kind of anticlimactic after her report, but I will just say that obviously I've said many wonderful things about the performance of the town manager over the years, and the evidence has been clear, and everything that has happened in the town in her almost 9-year tenure. So I won't, seeing her penchant for not taking these kind of words very well, I will just say that of all the hundreds or thousands of votes in my almost 12 years on this board, the best vote I ever did was to vote in support of her being the CAFO, then CAFO, now town manager, and I will let those words speak for themselves. So thank you for all you've done for Lunenburg.
I also want to thank you for all of the time that you've put into the town of Lunenburg, and I think that the time you've put in has brought us to a much better place than we were when you started. And your financial background, your ability to present, to look at a project, an issue, and find a perfect solution, or solution that meets the needs of the town, has been an incredible asset. Instead of looking at a problem and saying, there's nothing I can do, you find a way to solve it. And I truly appreciate where you have brought this community from where you started. And I regret that you will be leaving, but I wish you the best, and I truly hope that you are happy in your new position.
And I would just like to add that you've done it all with grace and composure. You just never seem to get rattled. You've been a great mentor for me and helped me when I, really didn't, was very unfamiliar with this seat. And you were always very kind and seemed to, that didn't matter how dumb the question was, you answered it with such grace. So thank you for all you've done for all of us.
So I guess I should say something now. I certainly...
Probably a quid pro quo, I don't know.
I certainly don't have any prepared remarks, but I do want to thank each of you for the opportunity to serve the community. It's been a lot of fun for me. I wish I always felt as composed on the outside, or I wish that was always the case. There certainly have been things that have got me excited. I do pride myself on not showing that excitement because, as was mentioned earlier, it doesn't always help for the public to see some of the excitement you might be feeling on the inside. I do feel like it's been a lot of work, but again, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun working with all of the department heads and seeing them grow. I've worked with a number of people. It was nice to have some real senior people when I started to carry me through. It was very nice to have the opportunity to hire a number of department heads, whether people were here when I started, like the town accountant, or in different positions or completely new to the town. I think we have a great organization. I'm happy to have been a part of building that organization. I certainly am going to miss working for the town. It does feel like my community too, even though I don't live here. But the opportunity for me, I have been telling people the position I'm going to was last open 35 years ago, and if I didn't take the opportunity now, it wouldn't be open during my career. On a personal note, not to get too personal, my own 2 children, I have 3 stepchildren, they're all teenagers, they're all very busy, and I do feel like I miss out a lot on what's going on with them, and this new position is an opportunity for me to miss less, and that's really my primary motivation. It's not because I'm dissatisfied with the position in any way, shape, or form. I wish I could do both, but I can't, and at this point, I feel like I've given a lot to the town and am looking forward to giving more to my family while we get all of the kids, middle school and high school. So it's an exciting time for me too, and I'm happy because I know that you will get a number of very qualified people to apply for the position. And anything I can do to help the next person, I'm happy to do. And I wish the town all of the best of luck going forward. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Do we need to do that, or can we catch up?
Can I just mention, because I'm happy about this one thing.
My bad.
Only just because it's on the agenda, the Maya participation credits. It's not the participation credits I wanted to mention. It's the rewards credits. So I had reported to you, I think back at the end of May, that we expected to receive $7,262 in rewards credits, and after everything was submitted, we ended up receiving $8,848, which is almost $1,600 higher. The participation in the rewards credit program is something that's pretty new to us. It's something we've been able to do through the work that Nancy Forrest, who is our payroll and benefits coordinator and risk manager. So these credits come from activities that everybody undertakes, from paid staff to elected and appointed officials, but being able to compile all of the certificates that people receive, or to document the work that we're doing, that's something that Nancy does, and I'm just very pleased that we were able to receive such a high credit amount last fiscal year, and I look forward to the town continuing that practice in the future. That's all I wanted to say.
Good note.
Is there any final public comment from the board?
I don't have any final public comment, but just looking at the minutes from August 2nd, when we have a vote that, for example, the vote on the water district, and it says 4 in favor, 1 opposed, I think if we have a vote that's not all in favor, it should identify who voted how, and it doesn't. So if we could amend that.
Good point.
Does anybody object to that? I agree. Okay, I'll make a note to talk to Elaine
Thank
about
you.
that. There is no public here this evening at this time, so good night, everybody, and we will see you on September 6th.